I picked it because it breathes fire, Marshall. I didn't even know that.
How could you do this to Ted?
Did you know that America's favorite TV dad was living a lie the whole time? Or that the ultimate sitcom womanizer was actually gay in real life? These stories were hidden for years to protect ratings and reputations. We are digging into the archives to reveal the actors who fooled the world and the brave moments they finally stepped into the light. 1. Robert Reed on The Brady Bunch.
To make an ensemble group out of kids and adults and make it seem as though they live together is rather hard. And if we accomplish that, I'm very pleased.
Everyone knows Mike Brady. He was the ultimate American father figure. He was the head of the Brady household, a wise architect with a perm who solved every problem in 22 minutes. The show ran for 5 seasons and produced 117 episodes that are still played on TV today. Robert Reed played the role with such authority that people actually thought he was the perfect dad in real life. He was stern but loving, and he always knew the right thing to say. But here is the kicker. Robert Reed was actually a gay man living in the closet during a time when that could ruin a career instantly. While he was giving advice to Greg and Marcia on screen, he was struggling deeply behind the scenes. He often fought with the show's creator, Sherwood Schwartz, because he felt the scripts were too silly and not realistic enough. He wanted the show to be serious drama, but he was stuck in a goofy sitcom. What many overlooked is that his frustration might have come from the pressure of living a double life. He never came out publicly during his lifetime. It was only after he passed away in 1992 that the truth came out. His co-star, Barry Williams, who played Greg, later said that Robert Reed acted that way because he did not want to go there with his personal life. He kept a wall up to protect his secret. It is wild to think that the man who defined fatherhood for a generation could not be himself. But if you think hiding in a family sitcom was hard, imagine playing a magical character who was loved by everyone, but understood by no one. 2. Paul Lynde on Bewitched.
Samantha, what's wrong?
Who's she?
It's your Aunt Agatha.
Oh, so it is. What's she doing here?
If you watched TV in the 60s and 70s, you definitely knew Paul Lynde. He was famous for playing Uncle Arthur on the hit show Bewitched. Uncle Arthur was the prankster warlock who was always causing trouble for Samantha and Darren. He had a very specific way of talking. He was snappy, sarcastic, and a little bit campy. Audiences loved him because he was hilarious and chaotic. But the thing is, Paul Lynde never officially came out as gay. In Hollywood back then, it was an open secret. Everyone in the industry knew, but nobody said it to the public. He used his unique personality to play characters that were flamboyant, but he always stopped short of saying the words. It was a different time, and he likely feared he would lose work. There is a tragic story involving him that happened in 1965. A young actor fell from his hotel window in San Francisco after they had been hanging out. It was a huge scandal, but the studio worked very hard to keep it quiet, so Paul's career would not be over. He kept people, laughing for decades on game shows and sitcoms, but he always kept his private life locked away. He passed away at the age of 55, never having told his own story. While Paul Lynde used humor to hide, our next actor had to replace a major star and hide his own truth at the same time. 3. Dick Sargent on Bewitched.
Aunt Clara, I think I heard the baby cry.
You did? No, I didn't hear the baby cry.
Aunt Clara.
We just talked about Bewitched, and this show actually had quite a few secrets on set. You might remember the famous switch where the husband, Darren Stevens, was replaced halfway through the series. The second actor to play Darren was named Dick Sargent. He stepped into a huge role and had to pretend to be the normal, stressed-out husband of a witch. Dick Sargent played the straight man to all the magic, but in his real life, he was keeping a secret that was weighing on him. For almost his entire career, he pretended to be straight. He even created fake romances for the press, known as beards, to make it look like he was dating women. This was a common trick in Hollywood. You would be seen at a premiere with a beautiful actress, and the magazines would write about it, keeping the rumors away. But in 1991, Dick Sargent did something brave. He publicly came out as gay on National Coming Out Day. It was a huge deal because very few actors from his era had done that. He said that looking at the high rate of young people taking their own lives made him want to stand up and be a role model. He wanted to show that you could be a successful actor and be gay. He spent the last few years of his life as an activist. From a magical husband to a magical military man, our next actor played a doctor who had to keep things strictly professional. 4. Hayden Rourke on I Dream of Jeannie.
You must have been born somewhere. You know where you were born.
Oh, of course, in Iowa.
I Dream of Jeannie was the other big magical sitcom of the 60s. It was about an astronaut who finds a genie in a bottle. The astronaut's life is turned upside down, and he is always trying to hide Jeannie from his boss, the suspicious Dr. Bellows. Dr. Bellows was played by an actor named Hayden Rourke. He was the perfect straight-laced military doctor, always confused by the weird things happening around him. Hayden Rourke was known in Hollywood as a confirmed bachelor. That was a phrase people used back then. It was a polite code for saying someone was gay but not married. He lived with his partner, a director named Eustace Addis, for many years. They lived together in a house in Studio City, California. To the neighbors and the public, they were just friends or roommates. The cast of the show knew, of course. Barbara Eden, who played Jeannie, was very fond of him, but they all protected him. In the 60s, if the public found out that a military character on a family show was gay, the network would have canceled his contract immediately. So, Hayden Rourke played the confused doctor perfectly, never letting the mask slip. He kept his secret all the way until he passed away. But some actors didn't just play doctors or dads. Some played characters that became national icons of simple country life. 5. Jim Neighbors on Gomer Pyle, USMC.
When I seen it in the snare, I took it right out and plucked it and cleaned it and set it right on the fire.
Gomer Pyle was one of the most lovable characters in TV history. He started on The Andy Griffith Show and got his own spin-off called Gomer Pyle, USMC. He was a sweet, naive country boy with a high-pitched voice who always said, "Shazam!" The actor, Jim Neighbors, became incredibly rich and famous from this role. But Jim Neighbors had a secret that was totally different from his character. For one thing, when he wasn't speaking in his Gomer voice, he had a deep, powerful singing voice. But more importantly, he was a gay man. He lived very quietly in Hawaii for many years to stay away from the Hollywood gossip machine. There was a very mean rumor that spread in the 70s claiming he had married another famous actor, Rock Hudson, in secret. That rumor almost ruined his career, and he had to work very hard to suppress it. The amazing thing is that Jim Neighbors finally did get married, but it was decades later. In 2013, when he was 82 years old, he married his partner of 38 years. He told the press that he wasn't really hiding. He just never made a huge public announcement because he wanted to keep his professional image separate. He was a very private man who just wanted to sing and make people laugh. Speaking of the man involved in that rumor, our next actor was perhaps the biggest star to ever live a double life. 6. Rock Hudson and the Marty Feldman Comedy Machine.
That's too bad. Do you mind if I join you?
Oh, I certainly don't mind.
Rock Hudson was the definition of a movie star. He was 6'5", handsome, and the dream guy for millions of women in the 1950s and 60s. He did do some TV work, appearing on shows like the Marty Feldman comedy machine, and later Dynasty. He was the ultimate symbol of masculinity. But inside Hollywood, everyone knew that Rock Hudson was gay. His agents worked overtime to keep it secret. They even arranged a short marriage for him to his agent's secretary to stop the magazines from talking. It was a complete setup. Rock Hudson had to live in fear that one wrong move would destroy his image as the romantic leading man. Sadly, his secret came out in a very tragic way. In 1985, Rock Hudson became the first major celebrity to reveal he had the serious illness that was sweeping through the community at the time. His announcement changed everything. It forced the world to pay attention to the health crisis. He passed away shortly after, but his bravery in those final days did more for visibility than his entire acting career. From a leading man to a TV heartthrob, our next star had to fight off teenage girls while hiding his truth. 7. Richard Chamberlain on the Slap Maxwell story.
Well, it was amazing because it's all I ever wanted. I started out life with very low self-esteem.
Richard Chamberlain was the king of TV miniseries, but he also did sitcom work like the Slap Maxwell story. In the 60s, he played Dr. Kildare, and he was a massive teen idol. He received 12,000 fan letters a week, mostly from women who wanted to marry him. Can you imagine the pressure? He had to pretend to be the perfect boyfriend for thousands of fans, while knowing he could never be that person. Richard Chamberlain wrote in his biography that he became an expert at hiding. He would take female friends to red carpet premieres just to have a photo taken. He said he felt like a fake. He moved to Hawaii later in life to escape the pressure of Hollywood. He did not come out publicly until 2003, when he was almost 70 years old. He wrote a book called Shattered Love, where he finally told the truth. He said he was tired of hiding and wanted to live his final years being honest. It is sad to think he spent his prime years afraid of being discovered, but fear was a common theme, especially for our next actor who played one of the creepiest characters in film history before moving to TV. 8. Anthony Perkins on The Match Game.
All right, we're all ready for round 1. There it is.
You probably know Anthony Perkins best as Norman Bates from the movie Psycho. He played the creepy motel owner perfectly, but he also appeared on television panel shows like The Match Game, which were very popular and had a sitcom vibe to them. Anthony Perkins had a very complicated life. He was extremely shy around women, but the studios tried to push him into romances to make him a heartthrob. For a long time, he underwent therapy to try and change who he was because the stigma was so bad. He eventually married a woman and had 2 children, living a life that seemed totally traditional from the outside. Many people in Hollywood were confused by his choices. Whatever the arrangement was in his private life, he kept his attraction to men a secret from the general public. Sadly, like Rock Hudson, his life was cut short by the health crisis in 1992. He released a statement right before he passed away, saying he had learned more about love and compassion in his final adventure than in his whole life. It was a touching end to a troubled story. But sometimes the best place to hide is behind a pair of funny glasses and a loud laugh. 9. Charles Nelson Riley on Match Game.
What does this look like? Happiness? No, it's part of...
Charles Nelson Riley was a staple of 70s TV. He was a regular panelist on Match Game, where he sat in the top row, wore giant glasses, and smoked a pipe. He was hilarious, quick-witted, and very campy. He made jokes that hinted at his life, but he never said it outright. He played the character of the eccentric bachelor perfectly. In the 70s, you could be funny and weird, but you couldn't be gay. Charles Nelson Riley walked that fine line his whole career. He would tell stories on talk shows that were obviously about men, but he would change the pronouns or just leave the details vague. It was a game he played with the audience. It wasn't until the 90s, when he performed a one-man stage show, that he really opened up about his life. He talked about how hard it was to be himself in an industry that only wanted him for jokes. He was a pioneer because he managed to be visibly different on TV every single day, even if he couldn't say the words. But as we moved into the 90s, things started to change, and our next actor faced a tragic battle in the public eye. 10. Tom Villard on We Got It Made.
I remember Cleopatra. Our dad used to take us to the drive-in and hope we'd fall asleep, and that was a racy movie, and we didn't fall asleep.
Tom Villard was a familiar face in the 80s and early 90s. He was one of the stars of the sitcom We Got It Made and appeared on huge shows like Golden Girls. He had a great comedic energy and was working constantly. But in the early 90s, he started to disappear from the screen. Tom Villard was one of the few actors in that era who decided to be open about his health struggles. In 1994, he went on a talk show and revealed that he was battling the serious immune system virus. At that time, it was a career-ending admission. People were very afraid and uneducated about the illness. He passed away shortly after the interview, but his honesty was a major wow factor for the time. He refused to hide in the shadows during his final days. He wanted people to know that this disease could affect anyone, even the funny guy from their favorite sitcom. While Tom was fighting for visibility, another actor was using a super masculine role to hide his private self. 11. Dan Butler on Frasier.
With some majesty and a soupçon of awe.
Frasier was a show about two snobby brothers, Frasier and Niles. But there was one character who was the total opposite. That was Bob Bulldog Briscoe, played by Dan Butler. Bulldog was the host of the sports show at the radio station. He was loud, rude, chased women constantly, and was the ultimate macho man. He barked at people and acted like a frat boy. The irony is incredible because Dan Butler is openly gay. He was playing a character that was a parody of toxic masculinity. While he was barking at women on screen, he was writing and performing a one-man show about his life as a gay man. He came out publicly in 1994, right in the middle of the show's run. It is a testament to his acting skills that he could play Bulldog so convincingly. Most fans of the show had no idea. It proved that an actor's personal life doesn't have to dictate the roles they play. And speaking of Frasier, there was an even bigger secret hiding in that same cast. 12. David Hyde. Pierce on Frasier Niles.
Meet Baby. I love you. You bought a bird.
Crane is one of the greatest sitcom characters ever. He was fussy, clean, and obsessed with opera. For 11 seasons, the main storyline for Niles was his desperate love for Daphne, the housekeeper. He pined after her, chased her, and eventually married her. It was one of the most romantic stories on TV. The actor, David Hyde Pierce, played that heterosexual romance perfectly. But in real life, he was with his partner, Brian Hargrove, the In Teacher Time. David was very private. He didn't lie, but he didn't volunteer information. He let the work speak for itself. He won 4 Emmy Awards for playing Niles, and nobody questioned his ability to play a man in love with a woman. He officially came out in 2007, years after the show ended. He did it quietly, through a representative, after there was a lot of media pressure. He later married his partner in California. It shows that you can be half of a famous TV couple and still keep your real love life totally separate. But the cast of Frasier was tight-lipped, because even the dad had a story of his own. 13. John Mahoney on Frasier.
I'm going to put this wreath up here.
What's the matter with Rudolph?
Well,
We are sticking with the Crane family because the man who played the dad, Martin Crane, also has a place on this list. John Mahoney played the retired cop who sat in his recliner and drank beer. He was the regular guy compared to his snobby sons. John Mahoney was a beloved actor who worked in theater for years before hitting it big on TV. John Mahoney was intensely private. He never married and never spoke about his romantic life. He often told interviewers that he was just a loner. However, after he passed away in 2018, there was a lot of discussion about his private life. While he never made a big coming-out announcement, many in the theater community understood him to be a gay man who simply chose not to share that part of himself with the world. His co-stars loved him like a father. It goes to show that some actors from the older generation believed that dignity meant keeping your private door closed. He didn't want his personal life to overshadow his characters, and he succeeded. But sometimes, hiding isn't about dignity. It's about pure fear of losing your career. 14. Nathan Lane on Modern Family.
I'm gay! I'm gay!
Nathan Lane is a legend of Broadway and film. You might know him as the voice of Timon in The Lion King, or from his recurring role as Pepper on Modern Family. He is famous for being flamboyant and loud, but for a huge chunk of his career, especially in the 90s, he was terrified of coming out publicly. He did a major interview in 1999 where he finally discussed it, but before that, he felt he had to play the game. He has spoken about how he would tell reporters he was single or evade the questions because he saw what happened to other actors. He didn't want to be pigeonholed. Even after he came out, he continued to play all kinds of roles. His role on Modern Family as the eccentric party planner was a huge hit. He showed that you could be out, be yourself, and still be one of the most successful people in show business. But the 90s were tricky, and our next actor was the star of a show that broke all the barriers, even while he stayed in the closet. 15. Sean Hayes on Will and Grace.
3, 2, 1. Oh. There you go.
Wow.
Will and Grace changed television history. It was the first network sitcom to feature gay main characters. Sean Hayes played Jack McFarland, the high-energy, totally over-the-top best friend. Jack was unapologetically gay. The character was a cultural phenomenon. But here is the twist. While Sean Hayes was playing the most famous gay character on TV, he refused to discuss his own sexuality with the press. For years, he dodged the question. He would bring female dates to red carpet events to keep people guessing. He later said he was young and scared. He felt that if he came out, he would become the poster boy for the gay community, and he wasn't ready for that responsibility. He finally came out in 2010, years after the show first ended. He has since said he regrets not doing it sooner because he could have helped more people. But it is understandable that he was afraid of being typecast. Ironically, our next actor became famous for playing a character who was obsessed with women while he was hiding the exact opposite truth. 16. Neil Patrick Harris on How I Met Your Mother.
Lying, you jerk! Oh, go ahead and jump. I hope you die.
Barney Stinson was the ultimate bro. He wore suits, he chased women, and he had a playbook for picking up girls. He was the breakout character of How I Met Your Mother. The actor Neil Patrick Harris was a former child star who was reinventing himself as an adult actor. He played Barney so well that guys all over America were quoting him. But in 2006, while the show was a massive hit, a blogger started threatening to out him. Instead of letting the rumors swirl, Neil Patrick Harris took control. He released a statement to People magazine saying he was a proud gay man. It was a huge risk. The show was still on the air. Would audiences still believe him as the womanizing Barney? The answer was yes. The fans didn't care. In fact, Barney became even more popular. Neil Patrick Harris proved that a gay man could play the straightest character on TV and pull it off. He continued the role for years and is now happily married with twins. He shattered the glass ceiling for sitcom actors. But speaking of huge sitcoms, our next actor was the highest paid star on TV, and he did things his own way. 17. Jim Parsons on The Big Bang Theory.
Bernadette's bringing her dad because her mom's out of town, and I never have anything to say to that guy. I'm gonna kill you.
Sheldon Cooper is a genius physicist who has zero social skills and for a long time had zero interest in romance. Jim Parsons played him with such precision that he won 4 Emmys. The Big Bang Theory was a ratings juggernaut, and Jim Parsons eventually earned $1 million per episode. That is a serious wow factor. Jim Parsons was with his partner Todd Spywak for over 10 years before the public knew. He never did a big magazine cover with a headline saying, "I'm gay." Instead, it just appeared in a profile piece in the New York Times in 2012. The article casually mentioned that he was gay and in a relationship. It was a quiet, classy way to do it. His contract actually had clauses that protected his privacy. He showed that you don't need a scandal or a big press conference. You can just live your life. He played an asexual genius on TV while building a happy life at home. Sometimes the handsome lead actor is the one with the secret, as our next star proved. 18. Matt Bomer on White Collar. While White Collar is more of a dramedy, it has a lot of sitcom elements and banter. Matt Bomer played Neil Caffrey, the incredibly handsome con artist who charmed every woman he met. He looks like a classic Hollywood leading man, with the blue eyes and the perfect jawline. For a long time, casting directors thought he was the next big romantic lead for women. Matt Bomer was quietly living with his husband and their 3 children. He managed to keep his family totally out of the spotlight for a long time. In 2012, he received an award for his work with HIV/AIDS activism, and in his speech, he thanked his family. That was his coming out. He lost some film roles because of it, which is sad, but he has continued to work constantly. He proved that a gay man can be a heartthrob and an action star. But not every actor is a leading man. Some are known for their unique faces and quirky roles. 19. Vincent Schiavelli on The Corner Bar.
Welcome to Minos, the arsenal of freedom, where we live by the motto, peace through superior firepower.
You might not know the name Vincent Schiavelli, but you definitely know his face. He was a character actor with droopy eyes and a tall frame. He was in the movie Ghost and played a teacher in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. But back in 1972, he was in a show called The Corner Bar. He played a character named Peter Panama, who was the first recurring gay character on American television. Here is the twist. Vincent Schiavelli identified as straight for most of his life, but there were always rumors and complexities. Later in life, details emerged that he was much more fluid and private than people realized. The irony is that he played a gay character way before it was cool, but his own life was a mystery. He was a master of disguise in his roles. He passed away in 2005, leaving behind a legacy of playing the oddball. He showed that you don't have to be the handsome hero to make an impact. And finally, we have an actor who played a quiet role on a loud show. 20. Bill Brochtrup on NYPD Blue.
Maybe not. Hey, what about your daughter's date, Austin Reed? Have you questioned him yet? He's still unconscious.
NYPD Blue was a gritty cop show, but it had a workplace sitcom dynamic in the station house. Bill Brochtrup played John Irvin, the police administrative aide. He was a gentle, kind soul in a room full of tough, angry cops. The character was gay, and he was one of the most dignified representations of a gay man on TV in the 90s. Bill Brochtrup himself is gay, and he was out to his friends and family. However, in the 90s, the network didn't want to make a big deal out of it. He navigated the industry carefully. He is a great example of an actor whose character helped change hearts and minds just by being a nice, normal person. He faced the challenge of being a gay actor playing a gay role when that was still considered niche. Today, he is seen as a pioneer who opened the door for more authentic casting. These 20 actors all walked different paths, but they all helped pave the way for the open and diverse TV world we have today.